Hey all, today we're looking at the new Walther PPK in 380. Let's get into it. Now if you like this content, like, sub, shares, all that good stuff, I really appreciate it. Also down below, coupon codes and merch to help support the channel. So we're looking at the new Walther PPK in 380. Walther has reintroduced the gun being made solely by them, and they're currently offering a 380 version in both stainless and in the black finish. And they're apparently releasing a 32 ACP version. I suspect they're making the 32 ACP version in part because a lot of people asked, and there's one particular line in a movie that no one has ever seen talking about how 32 ACP is like a brick through a plate glass window. But anyway, we're going to start with the 380 version today. So I usually don't show packaging. I'm not big on packaging. I don't do unboxings. And I really can't stand people that do because I don't care how you open the package. I want to know about the item itself. But with this particular item, I'm going to show the packaging because I think it's really cool. So obviously you get like an outer box and everything, but with these guns, they come with this nice little hard case. And I like this because say you were traveling or something and you need something to store the gun in, you have this nice little hard case to put the gun in. You want to take it to the range and maybe you don't have a bunch of cases and stuff. It comes with this nice little compact case, which has spot for the gun, and then the one magazine. So that's all I'm going to talk about the packaging. It's a nice foam insert in here with like some felt or something on top. Really nice and really tasteful. All right, now that we got the packaging out of the way, we're going to talk about the gun itself. So, Walther PPK in 380 ACP, or I'm sorry, 9mm Kurtz, which for those that wonder, 9mm Kurtz is not 9mm, it is 9mm short. Kurtz is short. So that confused me back in the day because I was thinking, oh, hey, I could get a 9mm PPK. No, 9mm Kurtz is basically another name for 380 ACP. It's just basically 9mm short. The gun is really nice. So I have Smith & Wesson PPK and a really nice gun, but having Smith & Wesson stamped on the side always was kind of like, you know what, like I don't think PPK when I think Smith & Wesson, but these are made, by Walther in Fort Smith, Arkansas. So yes, it's a USA made gun, but at the same time, it is a Walther made gun. So you're getting all the Walther quality in this gun. Starting out with some of the features, and then I'll go over just basically my thoughts on the gun. So we're going to start with the sights because that's something different from previous models. So up here you have your standard milled into the frame, uh, front sight, short, non-adjustable, little red dot, nice. For the rear sight, they've actually taken a step backwards, and it's a step backwards that I really like. So with the previous generation, which was the Smith & Wesson versions, you had an adjustable dovetail rear sight. And mine, after, a few hundred rounds, it needed to be adjusted, no big deal, knocked it back in and it's fine. But that can happen where a dovetail rear sight will get knocked off, zero after a while or something. You might have to, do something. Most are fine, but this one is milled into the top of the slide. And I really like that because that means that this is never going to knock out of zero. You're never going to have to worry about it falling out. Nothing like that, right? And I know a lot of people don't like fixed sights. I really don't mind them, especially, and I'll show here, when it's a really nice sight picture. I don't know if I get that to focus, but this is a very deep notch in the rear here, so it's actually a really nice set of sights for a small pistol like that. And at the end of the day, this is a self-defense gun. I mean, obviously most people buy a PPK, you're not going to carry it, it's for the range, but even as just a range toy, it's got a nice set of sights. All right, so moving to the back of the gun, this has a loaded chamber indicator, which is this little pin that'll be popped out if there's a round in the chamber. Then you've got your hammer, and they have an extended beaver tail. I really like the extended beaver tail. I have big hands, and I like to have a high hold on my guns when I'm shooting. So I really like that extended beaver tail because I've noticed no slide bite whatsoever, where with older versions I did get slide bite. So it's really nice to see that they extended that beaver tail and really helped keep the gun, a relevant self-defense tool, or at least something fun to shoot at the range if you decide to do that, right? So as far as the hammer and everything, this is a double single action semi-automatic with a decocker. So what the decocker means is, say you were to load the gun, right? You chamber the round, you're going to have basically the hammer back, and that means it's in single action. So if I were to pull the trigger, right, all that would happen is the hammer's going to drop, the gun would fire if it's loaded. With the decocker, again, say I loaded the gun, chambered around, the hammer is back, I'm able to flip this down, right? Now it's on fire, I can flip this down to safe, and it both decocks the gun and puts it on safe. Now, most people, when you carry a PPK, you would have the safety off, because what happens is it returns the gun to double action. So double action is, say, again, say you've got the round chambered, you've flipped down the safety, you've decocked the hammer, right now it's on back on fire. You can pull the trigger through, and it both cocks the hammer and then fires the gun at the end of the trigger pull. So these are really nice guns this way, because a lot of what people like is you can carry this safety off, and the gun is relatively safe because you've got this long double action first trigger pull that basically acts as your safety. So I really like that style. A lot of people don't, because they want the same trigger pull each time. But honestly, for me, with practice, it's not that big of a deal to get used to. Speaking of the trigger, so the trigger is pretty decent. Single action, it's really nice and crisp. Double action on this trigger it's okay, I'll say that. It's an interesting trigger pull because it's not like a double action revolver, where it's just kind of you pull through and then it breaks. Like there's not really a wall or anything, it just kind of like breaks. And you get used to the break point, but it just kind of pulls through and it's like a heavy trigger pull the whole way through, but it's smooth. I'll say that. There's a tiny bit of grit I noticed, and I suspect that's just because it's new, and as it gets worked in, it'll be better. But honestly, it's a nice smooth trigger pull, so while it's heavy, it's something that's easy to manage and pull through. One of the features on this gun I don't have to talk about is a slide release, because there isn't one. So the only way to release the slide on this gun is basically you would have to, right? So say there's a mag in the gun, right? An empty mag, you can pull back on that all day long. It's not going to go back, but you'd have empty gun, right? That's how you can drop your mag. And then of course, if it's a loaded mag, it will do the same, but there is no slide release. Is that a big deal? It's not the biggest of deal. I do like having a slide release, and maybe, who knows, maybe someday they do an updated version after almost 100 years of making the gun with a slide release, but honestly, it's not that big a deal. Moving down, so you've got same plastic grips that you're used to, right? It would be nice to see them offering them in different colors of the plastic. It'd be nice to see some of the old school Bakelite styles, but for now, Walther pretty much just offers these in black. Moving over here to the trigger guard. So the trigger guard is actually how you disassemble the gun. Now I'm not going to do it, but I'll show just this part, so because they changed something. So with the Smith & Wesson versions, and I suspect older versions, what you would do is you would pull this down, right? So you pull this down, and then you can pull this slide all the way to the rear and then up and off. And you could usually rest the trigger guard a little bit, like it would move to the side, right? And you could rest it on the frame. Whereas with this gun, you kind of have to, and I've done this a couple times, you kind of hold it down like this with your finger and then just pull the slide off into the rear. I actually preferred the older version with Smith & Wesson, where you could just rest it on the frame, but it's not that big a deal. And again, once you've done it once or twice, it's really easy to just slide the slide off and do what you have to do and then put it back together. Again, disassembly on this gun is very easy. So over on this side of the gun, you've got that iconic small PPK ejection port. Looks awesome. I've not actually had any issues with this gun, but I've had PPKs in the past that you'll get a stovepipe once in a while, depending upon the ammo you use. Again, if you use an ammo the gun likes, you won't have an issue. With this one, I was running some Aguila, and it had no issues. 100 rounds through, not a single jam. But, definitely something to keep in mind is smaller ejection port than, more modern style gun. All right, so we're going to talk about accuracy for a minute. I have a target here. So this is at 7 yards, and this was fast fire. So I put about 4 mags into this target, and we're not going to count that flyer because I don't know what happened there. That must be a pencil mark or something. But basically, I took the gun out, I put a target out, and I did, as fast as you could shoot the gun accurately, how fast could you, empty the gun. and this was the result. So I gotta say, I'm very impressed with the gun's accuracy. It shot really nice point to aim, and definitely if you were carrying this for self-defense, you would, you'd be able to basically maintain a decent group on target. And I'm sure, again, I didn't shoot this, slow fire for accuracy because I'm quite sure the gun is more than accurate. PPKs have been well known because of their fixed barrel for accuracy. Um, but this did more than adequate for self-defense needs. So really happy with the accuracy. Again, that nice trigger. Again, while it's a little bit of a heavy trigger, it's a smooth trigger, and it's definitely something that's easy to learn. And again, that double action trigger is always usually only your first shot, because after you fire the gun the first time, it cycles, and then it's a really nice, crisp single action. Now I'm going to take a minute to briefly talk about the magazines. So with the gun, you'll get two magazines. You'll get this one with the base plate, that's in it with the extension, and then there's the standard flat base plate. I really prefer the extended base plate. Now my hands are pretty big, and I just barely get my bottom finger on there, but it works, and I'm able to shoot the gun with the base plate actually quite well, because I kind of feel like even with my big hands, that little finger extension really helps kind of cram my hand onto the gun and kind of like tighten up on it, so it's a nice tight hold, and I can actually shoot a really nice group. I wish that Walther would include a spare for each mag, but hey, I guess that's how they get you, as you go buy more accessories. So, overall, my thoughts on the Walther PPK. The quality of this gun is really nice. I didn't find any rough machining marks. I really haven't seen anything on this gun that made me think that Walther has dropped their quality. So quality is good. I think the features, again, is it the most tactical gun on the planet that's, perfect in every way for self-defense? No, it's not. There's lighter guns, higher capacity guns, which for reference, this gun has, basically 6-round magazines, right? So you're only getting 6 rounds of 380 in these mags, and there is extended magazines and stuff, but for the factory stuff, that's what I'm talking about. But at the end of the day, while it's not the most tactical, not the highest capacity, not the lightest, not the smallest, it doesn't really excel in any of the categories for self-defense, but it does excel in one category, and that is it is a proven, iconic design. This gun has been around for a long time, and there's millions of them, I'm sure, at this point on the market, and it's generally a very reliable gun. It's definitely an iconic gun. There's a small movie series out there that seemed to make this gun kind of popular, and it's probably one of the reasons why the gun still is in production. Put down below, what do you think? Have you tried the new PPK in 380? Are you going to get one in 32? If so, what's the reason why you got one? Is it because, it's iconic from the movies? Is it because, you're just a fan of old style firearms like this? Let me know down below, and have a good day.